Veterans Broadcast Network, this is Roll Call. What role did you play in your call to duty?
You're listening to Veterans Roll Call.
I'm Kenny DeCamp.
And I'm Nadine Noki.
Well, here we are, back in Sarasota, Florida. We just finished an incredible Veterans Day weekend, and I'm really happy and proud to be a part of that. I met so many wonderful people, found out about so many different organizations that are doing so much for the veterans here. With everything that is going on in the world, we know that we have a lot of complications with the veteran world as well. A lot of that's trying to be solved. Veterans Broadcast Network is looking into helping that as much as we can. I want to thank right off the bat our sponsors, GTS Trucking, of course, and Dallas Corporation. I'm signing up a few more, as I hear, over the next couple of weeks. So keep plugging in on it with us, and we'll see where we go. It was amazing that while I was on the parade route with so many different veterans, that we had 3 different schools. I would say there must have been, 300 to 400 high schoolers, all dressed in uniform, all marching, some of them with drummers and some of them just on cadence and some of them singing songs. It was really a proud thing to see that our little city here has so much involvement with the military world. I know one of the characters, I believe it was Colonel Dan Kennedy, was one of the people who started Sarasota Military Academy years ago and turned out to be a really positive thing for so many. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Nadine, but she's hung up on a Lady Brigade project, so hopefully she'll be coming into the studio shortly. In the meantime, I'll be handling the mic by myself for a little while until I bring on our guest, Mike Burns. He was a captain in the Air Force. Unfortunately, one of those who got shot down. He's got a tremendous story to tell about who he is and what he's doing now. And part of what he's doing now is going to be an inspirational story, I think, for a lot of people, especially those of us who are concerned about what's happening to our climate and our world. He's quite an amazing guy that you'll be talking to in just a few minutes. There's an organization I recently learned about called the Veterans Path to Hope.org. And you know how each radio time when I start off, I'd like to turn you on to somebody new or a telephone number that works for you. I really think you should check out Veterans Path to Hope.org, especially if you know some veterans that are searching for more hope and more realities on what we can do to make things better for a veteran or a veteran's life. I have a dear friend named Lisa who's been taking care of her former husband even, who has gone through a lot of bad times physically. And she has been able to maneuver with a little bit of help from some people, the ability for the VA to assist him and assist her in making sure that he doesn't end up in a homeless realm, that he doesn't end up in one of the spaces that's not as healthy for him as it should be. So my hat's off to Lisa Hughes and her husband, Larry, that makes everything a little bit better. I'm going to give you that phone number again. I think it's the most important one. I've got some friends of mine calling it over this week, and that's the VA Special Hotline at the White House. I know it sounds a little strange, but there are actually veterans now in the White House helping to work with veterans. We know that we have VA benefit hotlines and we have VA center hotlines and the Bill of Rights hotline and everything, but give that White House a call if you need some help. And that number is 855-948-2311. I was very proud on Veterans Day to not only be in a parade, but I attended some veteran affairs afterwards that were quite unique. And then when I stopped to have a dinner by myself, said hi to a couple people who thanked me for my service, and we talked for a few minutes, and they were in visiting town here. So I just sat down by myself outside, and they were inside, and it was very nice. A simple little meal, nice little glass of wine, and when I went to pay, I found out they paid it for me. It was just a really sweet gesture on their part. They had already left, and we said goodbye to each other, but Bill and Jane, I thank you very much for that nice little treat. It was a real sweet one for me. And then we ended up at Fogartyville. That's a unique space here in our town. It's part of our community radio station, and then they have this community center, so to speak, both indoor and outdoor. You know, being in Florida, folks up north, I'm sorry to say we have indoor and outdoor almost all year round. And,
pretty bad, yeah.
I'm going to be introducing to Mike in a minute because he was one of the characters there with me. And then I met a man who I believe I knew back in New York named Bill Shustic. Did I say Shustic or?
Like a shoe or a stick?
A shoe stick. Okay, shoe stick.
That's good.
Yeah, who did some very amazing things that I was very proud of, having to do with a guitar and a dulcimer, and then he pulled up a ukulele, and then it was just like crazy. But I believe I knew him back in the 70s when I was going through my medical changes out of the Army to into civilian life. And then I got into the show business world with a lot of different people there. And I'm almost positive I saw him and met him back in those days. The name just strikes a lot of familiarity. So he's here tonight. He's going to talk to a little bit about his support for the veterans, because our show is not only about talking to a veteran, but talking to those people who want to help and those people that are helping veterans as we go along. And then I guess the proudest thing was also to be able to archive and listen to, which you can go to our website, www.nifv.net. That's the National Institute for Veterans, or their Veterans Radio Hour.com. And you could archive and listen to General Dave Grange's show. It was fantastic. I think it ran about an hour and a half or longer. He had some incredible guests on, talking about PTSD, talking about the world of transitioning out of the Army and into, or Navy or Air Force or Marines or Coast Guard, and then finding their way into life. And it was most inspiring, and I congratulate the General now and Major Doug with him on it. I thought the closing of the show was very inspirational and very poignant for our way of life right now in the veteran world. And then there's always, remember, on Monday nights, we have Patrick Scrogan. He's unfortunately also another person got shot down or crashed his helicopter in Iraq. My guest tonight was in Vietnam and was one of those unfortunate ones to end up as a POW. He's going to be telling us his story. But before I do, I'm going to bring him on Mike Burns, Captain Michael Burns at one time.
Right. One time since reduced to normal status.
And now normal status.
Normal, yes.
But you do a lot with the Thomas Paine Project that we have here in Sarasota.
Right. Well, you're talking about the once in a year dinner that we have. Oh, yeah, we have, well, Thomas Paine was brought to us back about, when we started, about 16 years ago, by a professor from the University of Wisconsin. And since then, he's become our patron, kind of. We kind of we've all read about him, and we decided that he speaks such truth to the findings of democracy and the kind of country we all hope this would be. He shows up everywhere, so we honor him once. We honor his birthday. We celebrate it. I think we have the 278th celebration, something like that, coming up in late January, early February. We have a speaker we give a Tom Paine Award to someone who's done something for the community along the lines of Thomas Paine. And we toast to Paine, and we give a little historical. Have you ever heard, "These are the times that try men's souls"? It was written by Thomas Paine. George Washington, when they were suffering one of those years in a forest in Pennsylvania, hiding out from the British, he had Paine put together something that could give some up the morale of his troops. They were deserting by the dozens, and he wrote it, first of the crisis papers. That's Thomas Paine. He's a strong man, not recognized today.
Though he should be.
Though he should be, and I won't tell you why he's not recognized, because we don't want to get political.
Do your own research.
Yeah, do your own research.
Exactly. So tell me about, where did you come from originally before you got into service?
Indiana, Fort Wayne, family, 9 kids, and a 2-bedroom house. Well, Dad ultimately cleared out the attic. It was still a 2-bedroom house, 1 bathroom. And we, 7 kids, 9 total people. We went to college locally. I graduated from DePaul University, and while there, I wanted to make sure I had a job when I left, because I didn't really know. Joined ROTC. When I was a senior, they gave us this test. If you want to be a pilot in the Air Force, here's the test. And I took it, and I thought, this is unbelievably simple. So I passed and got into pilot school in Enid, Oklahoma, and graduated, got into the F4, and from there we left the country.
An F4 meaning a jet?
F4 Phantom is a 50,000-pound, it was one of the huge, in the early 60s it was built, twin engine, 2-seater, 2 throttles. It had the ability to zoom. When you drop a payload and pull up, the thing just outruns almost everything to a certain altitude. It was one of the main jets in Vietnam, along with the F-105, and that's the plane I got stuck with.
And then when you learn how to fly, and you're in the Air Force now, you came out as the rank of what, lieutenant, I would imagine? First lieutenant?
Second lieutenant, yes, 90-day wonder. And then, well, I went to F4 school, and then sent to Ubon, Thailand, where I flew 18 missions before I was shot down.
And these 18 missions were out of Thailand into Vietnam?
Into South Vietnam, into North Vietnam, but we couldn't go above a certain parallel. I seem to remember it was the 18th parallel, because Johnson had a limited bombing in that time. I was there in 1968, and so the Navy had the next quadrant above us, but the Air Force flew in between the 17th and the 18th parallel, and that's where I was shot down.
And these missions were all bombing missions, or were there any supply missions?
No, they were all. Every mission I flew on, looking down, it was either night, didn't see anything except flashes of guns shooting at us, or jungle. In the daytime, it was just barely could see the roads winding in and out of the jungle. And so we would look for roads. If you couldn't find anything moving, you dropped 750-pound bombs on a road or in a creek. When I was there weren't that many targets down there. A lot of guns, a lot of Vietnamese guns. They were all over the place.
Yeah, okay. On that word, we're going to take a quick little break, a little bit of a breather here, and be coming back and talking with Mike and what happened after the shot down and where he went to and what that was all about. We'll be back after this message.
We off.
Roll call. We'll be right back after these messages.
My father was the best truck driver I've ever known in my life. like a family tradition.
I'm a truck driver myself. I drove around the States with my cat.
To be the truck driver, you not just only see where you go, you see the world in the larger perspective.
This is a really good time to be in the trucking industry. The dispatchers get good loads for them. The equipment is very new, and then it's very reliable.
At GTS Transportation, we make dreams come true by employing truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, and many other occupations. Consider joining our rapidly expanding team where we put quality, human dignity, and respect back into the workforce. Contact us by visiting our website at gtscarrier.com or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
Here we go. Here we go.
You're listening to Roll Call.
Every day. Sign my name on the dotted line.
Sign my name on the dotted line.
Here's your host, Kenny DeCamp.
Time.
All I do is a double time.
Up the hill.
Up the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
Hey, thank you, Mark and Midge, back in those studios, helping us make sure this gets out across. I'm here with former Captain Mike Burns, who's now a member with me of the Florida Veterans for Common Sense. Are you also a member of the Military Officers Association?
No.
You didn't join that one?
No.
And we are talking about Mike's situation in life that he dealt with in Vietnam, this 1968, 18 missions, and then he got shot down. And do you know what area you were shot down in Vietnam?
We were shot down about 10, 15, 20 miles, something like that, north of the dividing line between North and South Vietnam. It was a temporary dividing line. It wasn't anything permanent, supposedly. But that's where I was shot down. It was a bunch of guns at the base of a hill that we saw sticking out and decided to try to bomb them. And as we came down the chute, the guns opened up, and you could see tracers flying all over the canopy. And if I could whack this table, it sounded like a sledgehammer hitting the bottom of the airplane. But that F-4 is a sturdy thing. We pulled out right over that hill, and as we were going up and banked, I looked back to see where the bombs hit. And if I could reach out and touch the back of that airplane, that was a ball of fire from above. It was 2/3 of the airplane was on fire. I couldn't see the tail. And so we headed out toward the South China Sea. I don't know how far you went. And looked back. The fire was out, but there was smoke still coming out of the engine. So we knew the fire was burning internally. And we thought we could get out far enough over that South China Sea, and you could, if the plane went down then, you could have a good chance of getting picked up. But we never got that far. The airplane, at about 8,000 feet, it just started winding down. One engine was on full afterburner, and the other one was dead. And then it did its crazy thing. It slammed down, and I heard why. It's something that goes through the hydraulics when there's a leak. It slammed down, threw us up in the canopy, then jerked upward and bounced our face off our laps and stood there for about just a few seconds, and then fell off into this dizzying stall. Just fell out of the sky. You could see the earth go by, the green jungle, the earth, and we jumped out. Reached down and pulled this iron handle, and bang! It's a 14G kick that knocks you out of the airplane, clear of it. And then there's a rockets on the back of this steel seat that drive about 200 to 300 feet clear. And without doing a thing, it all breaks loose, there's a chute pops out, and you end up in the chute. The seat drops away, and when I finally got my vision, it's a 4G rocket ride, which it's nothing, but if you're not ready, it'll take the blood out of your head. And when I got my vision back, I was in the chute, coming down through a cloud, and new life, huh?
How many other people on the plane?
One.
Oh, just
he made it too. Him and I. He made it just like I did.
And then you hit the ground, and the Kong were there?
Well, right. I heard this huge explosion, and that was our airplane that hit not far away. And then I could hear snapping sounds that I was told later that bullets, if they're going faster than sound, the bullets that go by you. But I landed in a wide open field, Kenny. It was there was no place to hide. Just did a perfect parachute landing roll, by the way. And the sergeant that taught us how, sergeants teach you how to jump off 1-footer, then 2-footer and roll. And honest to goodness, when I hit that ground and stood up, I had a flash of that sergeant saying, "God damn, it's a good PLF, Burns." I saw it, then it disappeared. And so I started hiding my chute. Like everything is trained. I didn't think a thought, just hid the chute, got my radio out, called that other F4. There were 2 of us flying around. He said, "We didn't see you. He said, give me a position from that smoke over there." And a column of black smoke was our burning F4. And so I laid my compass down and said, it's 045, about 2 miles. And the other pilot up there said, "Okay, head west. We'll try a pickup in the morning." Well, there's nothing west but scrub. If I ran for 24 hours top speed, I might get into some high country and some weeds. But I started running, and I ran out of wind really quickly. I still had my G suit on, I noticed, and I thought it was the smoking, because I remember thinking, I got to quit smoking. So I took that G suit off and buried it. And then I could hear the gunfire all around. You could hear this bap, bap, and brap, and boom, boom. It was kind of a loose circle. I couldn't see anybody. So I hid. I saw this bush. It was the only bush within 20 miles, about 12 feet high. I swear it was the only one. Crawled into it, pulled all the weeds back behind me like they say to do in survival school, and waited. And after a few minutes, got real quiet. After a few minutes, a little ancient Vietnamese man came crashing, walking through into the bush, and I just turned and watched him. And by the way, I took out my .38. I thought, if there's somebody between me and a helicopter, I'll use it, but I don't need it now. Anyway, I just watched him come. His eyes met mine, and he screamed and ran out, and about 5 guys piled through this bush. They were just standing on the outside of it. I didn't know it. Well, that's how I got started. Then the days began. Yes, yeah. And when I got out of there, the whole village was out. There were men, women, children. These are militia guys. They're pith helmet, white strapped shirts, and gray pants. Village militia, and they were everywhere. And so then everybody faded away, and we started. I took all my clothes off except my shorts, put wire around my arms and pulled it way in the back. And I remember letting out a breath because it hurt really bad. It just jerked it. Then this guy got around, looked at my face, and let out a little wire until he saw me breathe. And then that's where he stopped. It was a nice gesture on his part. And so that's when it started. And then where did they take you to? Well, then they got to get me to a truck to Hanoi. So I was actually in a village for 35 days, not in a village, in separate villages before we reached Hanoi. So I got a view of the countryside. I got a view of the people who live down there. We'd walk on a road, and one of the guards, there were 3 of them, would leave the path and go somewhere. And I could hear he went into a village to find some place to stay the night. And I could hear yelling and screaming, and he'd come running out and say, "Go." This is the place we've been dropping bombs for 4 years. So we probably killed a bunch of these folks around here, and they were angry. So we'd just take off running, and they would, rifle butts, go. They were scared because they were scared. I could see in their face. And then we'd outrun things and then come to another village until we finally found one, spent the night. There were 2 other guys shot down. Well, the other crewman on my plane, and he was okay. So we joined up. They put us together somewhere. I don't know where he landed. And then an F-105 guy that I'm very close to. He's about 15 years older than I am. And he looked like a burnt toast when they drug him into this hooch. Do you want me to go on? Well, we found a village where I stayed for 20 days, and it's underground. It's about 8 feet high mud walls. It's the only thing above ground is the palm frond roof, stacked roof. So you go out the front door, and it's a trench. And somewhere you go up on the ground, but it's trench to trench. They were ready, they were ready to stay safe, I guess. And so we were held there for 20 days. I was held in a cave. It was about 3 feet high, 6 feet deep. And Crumpler, the other guy who was a major, was in a cave on the other. It's about a 12 by 15 room. His cave went about 3 or 4 feet high, and he said it was about 20 feet back there. And that was the better cave to have because they gave me my flight suit back when we got there and boots. So I put my boots on my fist like this and my back against that cave because all day long it would be sticks poking, rocks getting thrown in, people trying to drag me out. And then once in a while they'd pull us out of there and tied us to a stake, and it would be show and tell. The whole countryside would come through and look, and I got kicked in the face, or someone like grab your hair and rock away. And we had a guard. This guard had kept us alive up till just south of Hanoi. He was about 5 feet tall or less. His gun was taller than he was. Wow. His rifle. Anyway, he would let it go on unless he thought it was getting out of hand. Then he'd come over and shoot people. When they gave us food, we ate, and they honestly, no order given. They'd all fade in the background and stay silent. It was reverence. We get a cigarette. We'd get a cigarette once in a while. They'd all back up. So we smoked slowly and ate slowly. And
amazing.
So one night after 20 days, many things that happened there, Kenny, and it would be too long to go through them. Right. We got taken out, walks seemed forever at night, and there was a truck on the road sitting there, engine running, and they were piling stuff on it, and there were 3 of us on the back of that truck, and we went west to the Ho Chi Minh Trail all night, and then we turned north. I could see the stars. We were tied to the side of the truck, but so that started our trek north.
And did you end up in the Hanoi Hilton or something like that?
No, yeah, everybody started. Well, I got my first welcome to Hanoi beating before we got to it's a big French-built prison. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's an ugly place. It's very dark inside. I remember we backed that truck up. It was in the summer up to that gate, and they opened the flap. You could hardly see, but the entrance to it looked like it was all dark. It looked like if you walked through there, you would fall into this abyss. That's what I thought. Never be seen again. But inside it was interrogation rooms, structure, rules, some beatings, a lot of torture from other guys. I was pretty lucky in that respect. So that started it.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. You know, being in the medical field, it's one thing for me to hear this. Anyway, we're going to be right back after a brief message. We're going to catch our breath and focus a little bit more on our life that we have today. Be right back after this. Roll call. We'll be right back after these messages.
Attention, looking for semi-drivers nationwide. GTS Transportation of Burr Ridge, Illinois is looking to hire or partner with experienced CDL holders in every state. If you are going to drive, why not drive for the best? Whether you are driving solo, as a team, or as an owner-operator, GTS is looking to add you to their rapidly growing company. Become part of one of the most respected, driver-friendly, and successful transportation companies in America, where drivers are treated as royalty. Contact us at gtscarrier.com. Again, gtscarrier.com. Or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. We would love to help you, which in turn helps everyone. GTS is an equal opportunity employer.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
You're listening to Roll Call. Here's your host, Kenny DeCamp.
Well, here we are in Sarasota, Florida, safe and sound, listening to a story of Captain Mike Burns, who got shot down in Vietnam. We're to the point now where you're at the French prison, probably an ugly, dirty place. You're still being beaten and tortured every now and then. And tell me about your first interrogation.
Well, I really was fortunate in this way that I received my welcome to Hanoi beating, but I was the youngest guy up there for about 3 years, and they figured out that, and honestly, they were much harder on the senior ranking people. They started at the top to get information, to try to get them to read on the radio, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but well, before we got to Hanoi, there was this village, and it was night, and there's the table, purple tablecloth, this officer, nice-looking guy, very friendly, and 4 fully armed, like riot troops, they looked, but there was assault troops or something standing there. So we came in, sit on a stool, name, rank, serial number, date of birth, no problem. And they asked, what airplane were you flying? Of course they knew, and I said, I can't tell you that. Silliness. Well, at some point, they put me in these ropes. It's a standard thing they did up there. They put you in the ropes, and there was iron bars on the feet, and you get wrapped into this tight pretzel and beat on for a while. It started in the early evening, and it ended somewhere late at night. I really don't know when, but I was plastered against this post somehow. I don't even know how they did it, but when I started getting kicked in the lower extremity, and I thought, this guy is crazy, and he was always saying, while he's kicking me, you will be injured, you will be crippled forever. And he kept kicking me in. So I said, okay, F4, and they don't end it when you want it. It goes on. They don't want you to have control over when things like that end, but it did. And I had to be drug out of there. It just saps your strength. There's just no way to, barely crawl. And they helped me out of there and put me back in this other room. And then the next morning, we threw on the truck and drove the rest of the way to Hanoi. My thing up there was the reason I think I got away with things is that Bobby Fan, he picked him up. He had a broken arm and a broken leg. And I had to carry him. I nursemaided him. Goebel James had a broken leg. I firemen carried those guys like to the different places. Crumpler carried one. I carried one. And up in Hanoi, I was in a cell with those two, and they didn't say so, but I had to. We'd go to the wash rack once a week and throw water on us, so I would pick them up. And sometimes I had to help Bobby up on this black bucket. That was our bathroom. It's just a black bucket in the corner. We call this Black Stallion. And so, that started it. Several military interrogations, and then it trailed off into political things, quizzes we call them, where we'd go up and sit on a stool for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and listen to the history, listen to this stuff over and over again, and then they put a piece of paper and a pen, and now you want to, are you guilty? You want to write saying how sorry you are, or they would now tell us what you think after this. That went on forever. And
so this is them talking to you about the history of
Vietnam and imperialist forces, and there's something to it. I found out later, but we moved. There's several places in that prison. There's small cells. I was in a 2-man or 3-man cell all the time until 1970. When Nixon jumped into a camp, he had 80 special forces, brave guys, that dove into attacked a POW camp up there, the Sante raid. And when that happened, there was no POWs there. They had left about 2 weeks ago, I'm told. But then the Vietnamese gathered all of us. They had us in separate places all around Hanoi, like 14 different camps. They put us all downtown in this big French-built room, like 60 men to a room. One room had 40 men. So we had that kind of experience for about a year and a half. And when they did it, we organized. I got to meet, there's a tap code we had. You couldn't talk above a whisper up there. And so this tap code was developed by somebody, and we all learned it. We got to that prison in August, and until January, we didn't have any contact, the 3 of us in this room, the 2 crippled guys and me. But we could hear banging and thumping and stuff. You could hear men's, noises, coughing. And so one day in January, this guy across the hall, Jerry Marvel, a Marine captain, got us under the door, and I got down under the door. It's a big white door, is about this thick, but it's a wide opening. And he told us the tap code. He said, break the alphabet down into 5s, C and K are the same. Practice it and get on the wall, and we'll talk to you. And usually sound like a woodpecker convention. One of my friends said at night, because everybody's talking, and somebody's watching the door, under the door, waiting for the guard steps, trying to catch us communicating. But once we had that, we were on.
Interesting.
That's a call from your neighbor, and if it's safe, you answer it back, and if it's not, you just thump the wall or do nothing. And so, God, I'm telling you, that was the lifeblood, being able to be in this group.
Communication.
Wow. And so we learned who the SRO was down the hall, who was being tortured, who was in solitary confinement, who these 4 guys were, and it was a community based on the tap code.
Incredible. And how long were you in captivity from?
56 months.
56 months.
That was about average, honestly. We did, in the big room, we got a chance to say how many people have been tortured, and we figured out the average time was a little short of 5 years, because the first POW was 64, and I was there in 68, so they had about 300 guys before I even got there. And so let's see, what do you have another question? I can't remember what I was saying.
Well, the idea of being there so long, today, does it?
Oh,
I mean,
I'll tell you, the first year I was there, I was so angry. I mean, somebody threw a gun through the bar window. I would have run out when they opened that door and knowing I'm going to go, but take as many as I could. But at some point, you got to live with it. And because I didn't know how long it was going to last. I mean, we're the biggest monkey in the room, and we can, in the dry season, we got air support down south, we gain ground. The ARVN gains ground. In the wet season, the monsoon season, the North Vietnamese take it all back because there's no air power, and it goes on and on. And I thought, no, what's going to change this? And anyway, So how did you, when you finally got out, was that during 72 or? 70. Well, the peace agreements were signed in January 73. And that time, about 200 of us, they took us up to the Chinese border, a camp just outside of the Chinese border. It's still in Vietnam. Called, it'll come to me. But anyway, at some time up there, Mel Pollack was looking, there's always a hole or something in every cell. He was watching this dark courtyard, and he saw empty trucks. The back was open, and he was saying, hey, guys, there's a bunch of empty trucks coming in. What's that mean? That means they're going to fill up something and go back. Well, then the next morning, commander opens the gate. The guards are no guns, smiling, friendly. The war's over. You're going home. And so the ride up to that camp was a 24-hour, it was the bumpiest road. We were either tied in back or handcuffed together in back, and there's no way to move, no pit stop, no water, and we got there. I could barely find my legs. It was just so wobbly until we got on the way back. They put cloth on the handcuffs and handcuffed us together. We had smokes and even chocolates on the way back. And so they divided us up. First one shot, there was about 21 guys who were going to die if they didn't get out of there pretty soon. They got taken out first in early February. Then it was the early shoot-downs, the next group. I was in the third group, and then the people that were in that Hanoi bombing and the Christmas bombing stuff and all that.
The remaining, yeah.
So
that has to be something. And when you got to, I guess, Saigon, did they bring you to?
No, we flew. I'll tell you what. They gave us, that's the first time we saw Red Cross things, the first time. And we started seeing Caucasians out there through the guard windows. The bus came and loaded us all on the buses, and we drove to Geelong Airport, and there's this big, beautiful C-141 with a high tail in the back and a big American flag on it.
There was quite a few of those.
Yeah, well, I thought, God, that's a beautiful airplane. And there was the colonel there, and we'd get out, stand at attention in columns of two, and our name would be called. We'd go up, salute the colonel, shake his hand, and someone from the airplane would walk us to the airplane. So I remember we all got in that airplane, and nobody was saying anything. Nobody was cheering. We got in, sat down. There'd been so many rumors, so many things that never panned out. Could be another rumor. I mean, they'll probably throw us back in. And we just sat there, and finally they closed it up. You could feel that big jet moving around and taxiing, and then you felt the roar of it as it took off. And we're still quiet. And it got up in the air, and nobody's doing anything. And this guy in white, Corman, there in white, who's there to help us, he said, "Hey guys, it's over. You're going home." And that broke it. That we just started screaming and cheering, patting each other. There's some pictures, guys. There's some photos of pictures, guys screaming out of their veins in their neck, and so cigars.
Excellent. So you were right back, feeling like you're on your way home.
It was real. It was so real.
When we come back after this break, we're going to talk a little bit about your being home, and then I've got a special guest going to come on and help us understand a little bit about peace.
I can't wait for your special guest.
Okay. We'll be right back after this word.
Roll call. We'll be right back after these messages.
My father was the best truck driver I've ever known in my life. Like a family tradition.
I'm a truck driver myself. I drove around the state with my cat.
To be the truck driver, you not just only see where you go, you see the world in the larger perspective.
This is a really good time to be in the trucking industry. The dispatchers get good loads for them. The equipment is very new, and then it's very reliable.
At GTS Transportation, we make dreams come true by employing truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, and many other occupations. Consider joining our rapidly expanding team where we put quality, human dignity, and respect back into the workforce. Contact us by visiting our website at gtscarrier.com or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
Here we go. Here we go.
You're listening to Roll Call.
Every day. Sign my name on the dotted line.
Sign my name on the dotted line.
Here's your host, Kenny DeCamp.
All I do is a double time.
Up the hill.
Up the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
On the hill.
Up the hill.
Up the hill.
Yeah, we're here with Mike Burns, just completing. He's finally, after 56 months, is on a C-141. He's heading home. What was the first place you landed?
The Philippines.
In the Philippines. And then from there, how long?
A couple of days in the hospital, and then to Hawaii just for a gas stop, I guess, and then flying back over the country. I got up in front of that cockpit where that, I'm not sure what it was, maybe it was still the C-141, but as I could see the coast of California coming. We're about 40,000 feet. And I watched it as we passed over it. I tell you, Kenny, that's the first time I felt safe. I thought if we go down now, it's okay. Honestly, it was like something could happen. They're going to turn us around and go back. But once we got over that, I thought, yeah, we're home.
And your transition, was it?
Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I first got back. I mean, I wanted to live. And so I bounced around seeing friends. We had some of the guys were from Boston. I spent a lot of time out there. And one of my best friends in Spokane. Then I decided to apply to law school and finished in the 3 years at Indiana University in Indianapolis. My whole family was in Indianapolis. They'd been out. I hadn't seen them in 5 years, so I wanted to stay at home for a couple of years just to get reacquainted. I mean, there were nieces and nephews and married, people getting married that I didn't know about until I got home. So, and after that, during that, the last year of that law school, I knew I wanted to live by the ocean. So I applied to seacoast towns all around the country and ended up in Sarasota.
Oh, that long ago. So you've been here a long, long time.
79, I think.
Okay, now I've called you the climate champion because I think this is something that's probably healed a lot of the inner wounds that you've had, both mentally and psychologically, physically, and internally. I mean, we can make up all those kind of words about what you're doing now because we all have this feeling of what's happening to our climate. there are people that still deny, but we are the ones that know that things are turning. This project you have, it's at the celery fields. You've got a Rotary Club involved with you. You've got people that are against red tide, which we have very big problems with here. You've got some environmental steward teams that have gotten, and most of all, it's the Florida Veterans for Common Sense. Tell our folks listening, what is this celery field tree?
Sure. Well, actually, it was something our group talked about, but the Pentagon, we came out with climate change is a national security issue, and it really makes sense. People are losing land. There's vast migrations. There's parts of Africa drying up. It's very bad what is happening, and so we decided to attack climate change, and one of the ways was planting trees. Terry Root, I think, and a couple of other speakers, she's a Nobel laureate, spoke to our group. And part of her thing was trees. Plant trees. That's one of the best things you can do. So we worked with the county and got permission for this spot of land. We got some donations from Michael Saunders, from the Rotary Club, our own internal funding, Pat and Leslie from up a little north of here. They donated quite a bit of money, and I went looking for a nursery in Florida, found McKeithen up at north of Mayaca City. He's given us some really good deals, and he supplied all the trees, and we planted forests out at celery fields. Everyone should go look at this. It is a beautiful thing, and it's developing. The trees are taking roots. We've lost, out of 250 plus trees, we've lost 5 or 6. So that is a really good deal.
How many trees?
250 plus trees, about 255 actually. And we started another microforest at Stony Brook, and they planted most of 1,100 trees. And the idea of a microforest is that you plant 3 trees in 1 square meter, and that is supposed to produce some sort of competition that helps trees grow faster. So this Japanese fellow who developed this microforest deal said, he wrote that you can make a forest in 10 years do what it should do in 80 or 90 years by this competition. So we're very proud of that. We had a bunch of volunteers help us. The community is behind us. Anybody else who wants to come out and help us do so? Are we finished?
No, we're still going. We're just going to bring another guest up.
Oh, yeah, right.
And the Florida Veterans for Common Sense were the ones that came.
We spearheaded this whole thing, and we've directed the monies. We've we are on the hook with the county for maintaining this forest for 3 years since we planted, and the first year was October 2020. We had a great, 40 or 50 volunteers from the community, kids, students, people my age, and I'm 77, and I tell you, this is one of the best things I've done in my life. And at one time, we're blowing holes in the earth, but now we're digging holes and planting trees, and it all is going to help. This trees sequester carbon from the atmosphere and bury it. They release oxygen into the atmosphere. They provide a habitat for wildlife. They mitigate stormwater damage. They suck the nutrients, the roots do, out of stormwater runoff. They calm storm winds. They offer us so much. And if you just stand by a tree and look at it and think about what it gives each one of us, you'll volunteer and come out and help us.
Exactly. That's what I could see. Why I titled this show POW to Climate Champion, as you can see why the passion that Mike has for this, and it's I'm sure it's been a healing method too, and so much so that when we were the other day after Veterans Parade, we ended up at Fogartyville Center, and I met Bill Shustak, and tell me about this song you
threw at them.
Yeah, me, yeah. real quickly and then place them.
Okay, I got to tell you, the Veterans for Common Sense, what a group of guys and ladies, people, what a group of folk. Song written by Henry Clay Work. We're going back a century or more. 1880s. Henry Clay Work wrote some of the great battle songs of the Civil War. In fact, a Confederate captain shortly after the war told a Yankee captain that the Yankees wouldn't have won the war except for the fact he had to admit maybe they had better songs. That war was fought with music. But then, the second to last song this man, this musical warrior, wrote in the 1880s is called The Silver Horn. It's a veteran's plea for peace, that peace is patriotic. It's been my experience that if you can call them great warriors that I have met, have always been great advocates of peace. So here's the fella, he's lying on his bed, he's dying, and he's a bugler. He was a bugler in the Civil War. And of course you didn't have radios. The only way that you could communicate through the smoke and the din of battle was by bugle and by drum. And there hanging at the foot of his bed on the wall opposite is his silver horn. And he addresses his silver horn. Henry Clay Work. Come rest with me now, my silver horn, my melodious joy, my silver horn. These many long years, my constant friend, together let our toiling end. Yet fain would I ask, were mine the choice, for a moment of strength to give thee voice. One silvery peal ere life shall cease, but not for war. For blessed peace, yes, once again ring, sweet silver horn, that long ago rang on battle morn, from vale and glen that summoned then to arms, a thousand men. For peace ring now, for peace ring high, ring a welcoming peal that shall not die. Till mountain and mound, the earth around, responsive songs in echo sound. Thy whispers I hear, my silver horn, my melodious joy, my silver horn. They comfort me all with such control. I think you have a living soul. Then cherish we both one calm content, for the land that we loved our powers were spent, and o'er the turf that greens our grave, for ages may her banner wave. Yes, once again that long ago rang on battle morn, from vale and glen, that summoned then to arms, 1,000 men. For peace ring now, for peace ring high, ring a welcoming peal that shall not die, till mountain and mound, the earth around, responsive songs in echo sound. I kiss thee adieu, my silver horn, my melodious joy, my silver horn. Then suddenly loose the bugler's clasp. His kiss was but a dying gasp, yet marvels of power can love evoke. At the touch of his lips the bugle spoke, and wondrously sweet and clear and strong, from thence out rang a silver song. Yes, once again ring, sweet silver horn, that long ago rang on battle morn, from vale and glen, that summoned them to arms, 1,000 men. For peace ring now, for peace ring high, wing a welcoming peal that shall not die, till mountain and mound, the earth around, responsive songs in echo sound.
That's it tonight. We thank you for listening to Roll Call on the Veterans Broadcast Network. Mike, Bill, and Lisa, thank you for being here tonight. Wow.
Thanks for listening. Join us every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central on the Veterans Broadcast Network. This is Roll Call.
Attention, looking for semi-drivers nationwide. GTS Transportation of Burr Ridge, Illinois is looking to hire or partner with experienced CDL holders in every state. If you are going to drive, why not drive for the best? Whether you are driving solo, as a team, or as an owner-operator, GTS is looking to add you to their rapidly growing company. Become part of one of the most respected, driver-friendly, and successful transportation companies in America, where drivers are treated as royalty. Contact us at gtscarrier.com. Again, gtscarrier.com. Or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. We would love to help you, which in turn helps everyone. GTS is an equal opportunity employer.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.